Oh, mate. You finally got yourself a TT. Yes, Rob. Yeah, bruv. Sick. He's got himself a TT. Hey. Well.
Or at least that's what we told Sam. But,
hey.
hope you're not watching.
Number 5. Although you don't know about number 4. We'll get to that. Straight after the intro. So you saw it right, I have another TT. Now, I didn't set out to buy this one, although I have been buying this one for a few years. So basically, long story condensed down into a small 10-minute YouTube video. This car was offered to me a few years ago, shortly after I bought my Noggy one. Now I said no, and then they said, look, I'll do you a deal. And of course, you know how the story goes. If it's cheap, they say the word cheap. If they say I'm going to do you a deal, the likelihood is I'm probably going to buy it. Now, load of story about this one. It was owned by a friend of mine, and he said, look, I'm going to use it, whatever, and then when I come to sell it, you're going to buy it. And I kind of said, all right, whatever, just thinking it was just what people say in it. And then a couple of years later, fast forward, rings me up and says, when are you going to come pick up this TT? And I was just like, I had forgotten about that. Now, if you've watched some of my recent videos, you know that I've changed the wheels on my V6. You'll also know that I changed the suspension on my V6, and funnily enough, this is where it came from. So the car, it had the BBS anniversary wheels on, it had the H&R suspension. All I did was change the springs because the springs, they were tired, and I thought, well, the shocks were nigh on new. I still have the receipt for them from this, but I thought I'll change the springs because they just looked a bit tired. Fresh new set of springs on a 3.2, because obviously this is a 18225. And that's kind of where we are. So I bought the car for a reasonable price. It wasn't by any means cheap, but it had some nice bits on it. Now, the car as itself, of course, I'll give you a walk around in a minute. The car is now a completely stock 225, give or take a turbo intake pipe and a air filter in here. It's only got 2 seats inside. For some reason, they took the back seats out and they vanished. So now I only have 2 seats, which we're going to be addressing in the next couple of weeks. Now, the plan with this, because I have to give myself a plan when I buy a car, was to make it nice for someone else. It needed a few bits. It still needs a few bits now. Bodywork wise is really, really nice. Let me change the camera angle and I'll let you have a look. Okay, so I have put on my 19-inch wheels off of the convertible because obviously I took the wheels off, so I needed something to put on it. And I thought on a 225, the 9 spokes look really, really nice. I may change them in the future. Who knows? I do have a few options. The only non-standard thing here is it's got a clear strip and it has like a daytime running light and a full-size indicator. The other thing to notice, no headlight washers. This is a 180 bumper, so it does not have the xenon sprayers. It still has xenons, but it doesn't have the sprayers. Apart from that, it is completely factory facelift, so it's got the 3-bar grille. But besides that, that is it. Now, colour-wise, this is a Mauritius blue car. It's been well looked after. It's definitely had some paintwork in its time, and they've painted a few things black, but for the most part, you wouldn't really know that it wasn't standard. So, moving round to the back, it has everything you would expect to see a standard diffuser. Now, it has been debadged, which I'm not a massive fan of, so I'll probably buy myself a TT and a Quattro badge. The rear lights are in a lovely condition, really nice. Again, they've had a strip put in there for the indicators, and they've also painted the fuel flap black to go with those black wheels, which I've now taken off, so maybe I'll have to address that with a silver one. But I think you can agree it is a really clean looking car. Obviously in a video, all my cars look lovely and clean. Let's pop the boot here. So I've actually had to fix the key because the key was broken. It didn't have a ring on, and only being one is a dangerous game. Always put your key in your pocket when you open the boot. So the rear seats are missing. It's got a darker grey interior, so I do need to get some rear seats, but I think I've sorted that out. It's got the lighter interior and it's a bit damaged inside, but for the most part, everything is okay. Let's jump into the car and I'll show you some of the anomalies. Okay, so in the car, lower dash is a lighter grey. As you can see here, the seat is a darker grey. This is quite a common setup. It's not, I quite like it. It's not too bad. There's a few odd things like on the door here, the the switch is loose for the mirrors. Inside, the thing you use to adjust the heater is snapped off, so they're about 20 quid. I'll get that swapped out. But for the most part, everything's actually here. The stereo looks quite good. It's done 120,000 miles. It's not a bad car. There's definitely some things that need doing. I had to get it through an MOT because it hadn't been driven for a while, and it needed, what did it need for an MOT? It needed some drop links and a few other bits and bobs, some stuff to the brakes and that, but now the car is absolutely fine. It drives lovely. Let's have a look under the hood. Now, it did come with the engine plastics. I have actually removed them because I had an issue with the oil pressure warning switch. So the switch had to be replaced because it was giving me that red light of death, those 3 beeps, which funnily enough, I actually found the problem a couple of weeks after recording that video, and I didn't know that this had an oil pressure. Otherwise, I would have used this for that specific purpose. Now, it does have a few mods, like I said, a giant ram air filter, an SFS oversized tip. It's got a Turbo Smart DV, which makes a horrible chatter, so that'll be getting swapped out. And that is about it. Nothing else has been changed. It is all original. It's actually very clean. I mean, if you were to run your finger on there, there's a bit of grub, but there's no oil. The rocker cover gasket's really nice condition. The car has actually had quite a good service history. It's had a new clutch. It's had the timing belt done recently. It's had the rocker gasket changed. It's had a few of the pipes changed. It's had the steering pipes done. And it's not a bad running car. You can hear the... it's had an N249 delete, which has been cable tied to that, which is always interesting. You can hear the auxiliary pump sort of chugging away. It's definitely on its way out, so that'll be need to be addressed. But apart from that, quite a nice looking car. You can see here it's got a custom-made billet power steering pump, power steering reservoir cover. It actually had the same on here, and on here I've taken them off because they're not really for me. I'm going to try and put it all back to standard. But yeah, so the plan with this car, it's a hard one because obviously I didn't really plan to buy the car, and then when it sort of fell into my lap, I didn't really have much of a choice because I can't say no to TTs. And he was like, otherwise I'm going to sell it to a breaker, and of course that is not what I want to do. Let's get this leveled up because that looks horrific. There we go. That's better. And obviously I didn't want to get this to go to a breaker because it had some nice bits on. I wanted to use some of the bits, and I wanted to put it back to standard and get it back out into the world. Now, there is a few other things that I might be able to do in the future, so this may be sticking around for a few more videos, but inevitably, at some point I'm going to have to sell some of the fleet. I have 5. This is, so we got Noggy, the red V6, we've got the silver convertible, we've got this, and then another car which is soon to come onto the channel. But at some point, I'm going to need to sell them. 5 is way too many. It's a stupid idea. Don't get me wrong, I love having TTs, but you can only own so many, and I feel like I'm neglecting all of them. So at the moment, this one's just come back onto the road, just MOT'd and sorted the oil pressure problem. So this is a perfectly running car now, arguably. Subject to how many miles we do, we'll see. So this one runs fine, and the Roadster runs okay. No issues with either of those two. But the V6 has got cooling fan issues because the fans have given up. The Noggy, the gearbox bolt is hanging out of the dog bone, so that needs helicoiling into the gearbox. And where are we? Oh, that's it at the moment. That's not too bad, actually. But I'm getting carried away. But the problem is, I can't give them enough love, and it's just, I'm just replacing parts on whatever needs it the most next, or whatever I get a free half an hour to do something. But it's wrong. I need to lighten the fleet and just have maybe 1 or 2 max, and just focus on just enjoying them, because at the moment they're all parked up in different places, wanting problems. And the Fiat, don't even get me started on the Fiat. That is currently off the road for the foreseeable. I'll make a video about that. But the TTs wise, yeah, I just feel like I'm neglecting them, and that's not what I wanted to do. I want to be able to get them done, get them out, get them enjoyable, go to meets and all that kind of stuff. And I just find that having them too many, they're just off the road, and then they're not getting love, they're just getting neglected. And it's wrong. So as mad as I want to say, they're going to be up for sale soon. I'm definitely going to keep the Noggy. That goes without saying. The V6 I probably will keep. That's probably the hardest one to get rid of. But the Roadster and this will be up for sale at some point. There's a few things to do to this first, and we might be doing some cool stuff as well. but they are going to have to go. I can't have 4 or 5 TTs because I can't get the time to get round all of them. Plus behind you is the kit car, and obviously we're building that, and it's so nice to be able to build a new car. It's so cool and it's so different. I need to sell some TTs. Now this is, don't get me wrong, I'm glad we did this because someone is going to really enjoy it. It's done 121,000 miles, I think it is. Got loads of recent history, not so much previous history, but like any old 19-year-old car, it's only as good as what it's had done recently. It's had all the Howdicks, it's had the clutch, it's had the timing belt, it's had the rocker gasket, the pickup pipe, all the things that you'd want doing. It's had a turbo recondition, so it is ready to go. It drives lovely. That horrible big air filter is so noisy. It sounds like you've got a massive vacuum cleaner under there sucking all the air in the world in there. But to be fair, the only things that this needs doing is it needs arches, it's inner arches. For some reason, there isn't any, so there's no inner arches. I'm trying to work out why the boot light's on still, because the boot's open. But apart from that, yeah, I just wanted to introduce it to the channel because I am probably going to use this at the weekend when we go to that meet, and I didn't want it to be the first time you see it. Plus, some things may or may not be different depending on how much time I get this week. Let me know, what do you think to the Mauritius? Do you like the colour? Do you like it with the 19s? I actually think it looks really nice with the 19s. Yes, it's a little bit high, but it is on stock suspension, which it would have come from out of the factory, which I just happen to have in the garage, of course. But I actually think it's a really nice looking car. Need to sort the interior, need to do a few of the Parrott Bros things, stick a cup holder in it, put a Bluetooth fitment in there. But apart from that, it's actually a really smart car. Drives really well, and it's nice to keep these on the road. Imagine this got broken, it just makes me sad. It's one of the good ones. Unfortunately, I've had to break a couple because they were past the point of worth making to do. But I wanted to introduce this to you guys. Let me know what you think. Feel free to register any interest if you want to get yourself a nice Roadster with baseball interior, or put your name down for this in the future. Not a sales advert. But yeah, just wanted to introduce this to the channel, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.